Welcome back. We are on the agenda. We're being joined now by the Leader of the Opposition, Andrew Holness. Good morning, Mr. Holness.
Good morning. How are you, George?
Doing, trying my best.
Are you going to be the permanent host of this program?
I don't think so, sir. You want the job?
You know, George, why not? Maybe I should take up a job like this.
Maybe you should take up a job like this. The Gleaner's editorial this morning wrote that this newspaper hopes that the Standing Committee, the JLP's most powerful caucus outside of annual conference, would insist that Mr. Holness move apace with the full public disclosure of the findings and recommendations laid out in the post-election report. It also goes on to say, after the apportioning of blame, the youthful Mr. Holness should assert his leadership, sweep out obstructionist relics, and promote a brand of politics that is productive. A credible opposition, it says, is imperative, and that a Labour Party which does not stand as a viable alternative is not good for the Labour Party. Worse, it's not good for Jamaica. All of these.
Let's start with where we agree.
Yes.
And let me say that I agree 100% with the Gleaner report. The only thing there is that I may not be so youthful anymore. I think I've just transitioned out of what is classified as youth.
Absolutely. I'm a young man. You are not.
That,
yes.
Aside from that, I agree with everything the Gleaner said. Which is why I decided to come on your program today.
Yes.
Because I think that there is a general problem with how our media researches and carry information. Now, a story was carried on Sunday that I was opposed to the release of the report. And I was opposed. I was called by a journalist and I explained to the journalist the full position. We had explained it in a release before, that we have a draft report. The draft report was discussed. Now, the challenge I have is that the report in the Gleaner was inaccurate and poorly researched, even though there was the opportunity to get what the actual situation was. And the actual situation is that I have been, internally and externally within the party, the person pushing for the report to be made public. And this for a simple reason. You can't hide it. In today's world, you can't hide the report. It's a meaningless exercise. The report is not designed to undermine anyone. The report is not designed to give any salacious details and rumors. This is a high-level report, and I'm so disappointed that it is being dragged into the mire of rumors and speculations and being tarnished. You know, the persons who have volunteered to be commissioners did so because of exactly what the Gleaner said. It is important that for our social institutions that there is enough civil action to ensure their strength. And I find that, especially with the Gleaner, that has made this very powerful point, that just a little bit more research would have not brought us here. Because the truth is that the whole intention, and the reason why I decided to speak yesterday, I was listening to a rerun of your program, and a caller called in with such a profound point. He said, is the JLP a private or a public institution?
Yes.
And those were my exact words, my exact thoughts, because the truth is we are wrestling with whether or not political parties are private clubs.
Yes.
And I have been at pains to say this. I've made public statements that political parties are not private clubs. They are public institutions. And the legislation is moving that way. Legislation is moving to have them registered. Legislation is moving to fund some of their operations. Legislation is moving to fund campaigns.
Tell me though.
So the days of treating the political party like a private club is over.
Tell me though.
Which is why I was just totally bored by the Gleaner story, because that was never my stance. I just wanted to make it clear that we went back and I looked at the minutes, and we had a discussion about it last night, and we decided that we are not going to attack journalists for what they write. That's journalistic license. But we have a duty to correct inaccuracies.
How has the report been received within the party?
Well, there are some persons who have embraced it, who are happy for it. There are some who have some reservations. You don't want to give ammunition to your competitors because it is a competitive political environment. But
competitor within or without, or competitor inside or outside the party?
No, the competitors, the PNP.
Okay.
Or any other party that may emerge.
Yes.
But the report is not that type of report.
When will it be published?
Well, let me just back up a little bit. We have a draft given to us. We also decided in doing interviews and research that there were some surveys that were done. And the tabulation and analysis of the surveys take a little time. So that is to be added to the report as well. That will make the report, in my mind, stronger because there would be an empirical basis and not just the research and interviews. We would have some kind of general survey that was done.
So when and how will you publish it?
Right. So let me just answer the first question you asked. When will we seek to publish? We will publish in April. We have given the commission until then to do all the things that they want to do to finalize the report, and we will publish the executive summary because we cannot undertake to publish everything.
Yes.
And when I use the term publish now, I mean present a physical copy.
Yes.
Right. And we will have the party accept conclusions from the report or not, and the executive summary will have the conclusion.
What based on what the report said about your...
and one other thing, just to be clear,
yes,
because we have to be fair to the party, and I just want to be clear on that it has to go through the party process first. So once it is finished, then it comes back to our standing committee, then it goes to our central executive, then we meet at our various local meetings, and then, of course, we publish.
In April. What has the report said about your leadership of the party? Are you satisfied with what was said, if you can tell us, and we hope you can? And how do you feel about what the council members said? Yes.
I will say this to you, that, remember now, I commissioned the report.
Yes.
And I did so because I wanted an honest view of where I stood and where everyone else stood and where the party stood relative to the nation and the public's interest.
But was your role a criticized role? Was your role a criticized role or a commended role?
I would say to you that I'm comfortable. I don't want to speak before the report is finalized. So, but just to say to you that I am comfortable. I am not worried about anything. People wonder, how am I so easy? But listen, even though it has taken some time for it to exude from the party, but those persons who are staying in the dark to create mischief are being slowly marginalized. So I agree with the Gleaner's editorial that we need to exercise those persons from our midst. And Jamaicans are just so frustrated when we see these things. I want to reassure them that the core of the party is solid.
But tell me though,
the core of the party wants change.
But tell me though, based on what the report has said, are you satisfied that there are no Brutuses within the JLP?
No, the report, let's just be clear.
Yes.
The report is a high-level report.
Yes.
And this is what I'm trying to steer the discussion away from. Because there is this salacious detail that we're hoping to get.
But forget salacious, Mr. Holness. It's a fair question to ask. It's a fair question to ask, Hold on. It's a fair question to ask if it is that based on what was the findings, if it's suggesting that labor rights lost in 2011, bloodied noses, but are ready to move on with Andrew Holness as our leader. Or you're looking at another man?
I think you're being preemptive, though, based on what I've said. But I can say to you that the report looks at the high-level issues. For example, is there a fundamental issue that the Jamaica Labour Party needs to address why the People's National Party have won more elections? It's a fundamental question. And it doesn't come down to Andrew Holness or Bruce Golding or Edward Siaga. It certainly comes down to a very detailed analysis of what policies and positions and programs and posture the party took over a long period. And that's what I'm interested in.
But you're
those
dodging
who are
me,
looking
though.
for the...
You're dodging me, though. You're dodging me, though. Because you've come on the front foot here, and you could answer that question, because people are wondering.
No, I don't know. George,
yes.
I don't want the impression to be given that I'm dodging you. If you ask a question again,
so
clear,
you said you were comfortable with how the report looked at your role. Fine. So I'm saying, do you get the sense?
My role as a leader in the party and what the report would have done.
Yes.
The report, would have said that there are persons who naturally like my leadership style, and there are those who feel that my leadership style may take a little adjusting to. There are those who feel that I need to be stronger, and there are those who feel that the party needs to move from a leader-centric type of institution. I will say this to you, that the majority of persons agree that the party needs to move away from a leader-centric type institution to one that mirrors a more modern structure. But they also agree that as a leader, that I need to stamp my authority more on the party. And that is consistent with what I said earlier, that I agree with the Gleaner's editorial.
Thank you. We're out of time, sir.
So George, I'm a very frank person, and I say it as it is. I'm just very disappointed that an attempt to bring a report that is designed to deal with high-level issues been dragged into the mire once again. But I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for talking with us this morning. Very well.